Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to Reddit Aliens. I'm John, and as always, thank you so much for being here. A serious topic, a little not safe for work, and let's do it. What's the fastest way you've seen someone ruin their life? Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. A high school friend drove drunk and killed a local doctor of a small town. Last I heard, he was still in prison. The construction to amphetamines pipeline. I've seen two very good and competent men fall to absolute ruin in the space of 4 months because of this. Watched a buddy spend his entire life savings betting on the Paulo Costa versus Adinsaya. I begged him not to do it, and he lost and his wife's entire $60K nest egg. She left him immediately with the kids, and now he lives at his mom's house. Arrive at work on their first day as a temp at around 10 a.m. Caught stealing the boss's wallet at 12:30. Taken away by police at 1 p.m. My sister started doing meth and heroin. She went from super smart to completely dumb. By the age of 19, she was already a felon. No one in the family wants to help her anymore because each time we tried, either sending her to rehab or tried getting her sober, she would just go back to it. Was supposed to go to college, but now she's 22 and stays at different people's houses and begs people for money. Completely cut me and everyone else off from her because she thinks us trying to help is us being jealous and not wanting her to be happy in life. Former friend of mine was arrested for soliciting an 11-year-old for favors online and traveling across state to meet her. I never expected him to do that. His girlfriend at the time asked if I wanted to be a character witness. No, and I noped out before she finished her sentence. Judge made an example out of him and sentenced him to life. Apparently it wasn't his first SA offense. I can't believe she even stuck around to even consider looking for people to testify on his behalf. My father-in-law is 65, was married to his wife for 37 years and has 3 daughters. The picture-perfect family from the outside looking in. He was well respected in his career field and was also an interim pastor deacon at our local church. After he retired, his health started to deteriorate drastically, and he started drinking. This past November, we learned that he had fallen for a love scam on Facebook and had spent his entire life savings, took out a second mortgage on his home, and opened up numerous credit cards to send this fake person money. All in all, he sent them roughly $300,000. He was truly convinced she was going to move here from overseas, and they were going to ride off into the sunset, leave everything behind and live happily ever after. Now he's divorced, lives in a crummy apartment about 45 minutes from his family and is miserable. He can barely walk and has essentially zero control over his bowel movements. To make matters worse, he has very narcissistic tendencies and thinks that none of it is his fault, and instead blames his ex-wife, claiming that she didn't love him and show him any affection. As you can imagine, this has affected my wife, her sisters, and mother immensely, and caused all sorts of problems and stress over the last 8 months, but long story short, he lost everything. His assets, his family, his health, and happiness. I would be shocked if he's even alive a year from now. I mean, it's just terrible on so many fronts. For the wife, for the family, the extended family, the children, even the guy. I mean, he got scammed, and what he did was terrible, so I'm not defending him. But, just a really bad situation. An old customer got fired from Uber and DD for being slow or arriving with cold food way too often. Comes into my bar the next day with limited edition EXO weekend sweater plus jeans, new Apple Watch, and new iPhone, all paid cash. Says he took out a payday loan for $10K and doesn't intend to pay it back. He'll just cancel the bank account. His exact words, "Who needs credit anyway?" He stopped showing up to the bar after about 3 months. Never saw him again. I watched this clip on Reddit where these 2 kids were posing with a gun. The girl in the video accidentally shot the boy in the head. She panicked and shot herself. That shit changed me. It all happened so fast. I don't think the clip was longer than 30 seconds. Have a friend who had a drinking problem and got into an argument with a gas station worker while drunk. The worker tried stopping his car by standing in front of it, and my friend ran him over and killed him. Wife, career, freedom, everything lost. 15 to 20 years ago, an ex worked at a dream job type of place. If you make it professionally in that field, this employer was and is the absolute peak. There's no better place to go. New guy started there, on X's team, right out of university. His first day, he went to the company store and got all the gear with the company's name on it, t-shirt, hat, socks, etc., and proudly put it all on. After work, team took this new guy out for drinks to celebrate his first day at dream job employer. New guy gets way too drunk, goes outside to smoke a cigarette, and then takes his penis out and presses it up against the bar's glass window. Penis man's new colleagues, all the bar patrons, and all their staff see his dick. X closed out their tab and got drunk guy home. The bar calls the employer the next morning, complaining about the new guy's dick antics, banning him and anyone wearing company gear. New guy was fired before lunch on day 2. Cautionary story. In Germany, there was a contestant on the show Wetten das, translated as Bet That, a few years ago. In the show, statements about crazy talents and activities were presented by the participants. The contestants bet on things they could do and get a prize if they could actually perform the self-proclaimed task or talents. One participant bet that he would be able to jump over moving cars. It went wrong, and he was left a paraplegic. He has since largely recovered and is handling it great as far as the public is concerned, but the situation will probably always stick in my mind. Oh, and clearly heroin. The shortcut to ruining your own life as quickly as possible. Knew a guy in the military that had 18 years in and was doing online classes to get his MBA. He was in his final semester of getting his MBA and 2 years away from military retirement. Then he traveled 1,500 miles across the country to hook up with a 15-year-old girl. Spent 2.5 years in prison, was kicked out of the military, and his college he was attending. I'm not entirely sure if he could pick up where he left off to get his MBA at the same college or a different one, but that's probably useless for him anyway, now since he's a convicted felon. I don't think having an MBA is going to make employers overlook your felony for trying to have S with a minor. Yeah, no, it doesn't matter if you have 30 years in and 10 doctorates. If you do something like that, your life deserves to be ruined. That simple. I wound up having to change the number for my first real cell phone because the previous owner of that number still kept giving it out. Apparently, she had just moved and her old job couldn't get a hold of her to send her last check. Her new job couldn't get a hold of her to get her schedule. Her vet couldn't get her to pick up her cat. I got calls from her leasing company who needed documentation to secure her apartment. Every single day was some new way an idiot was effing up her finances, her housing, her job, her pet, her social life, all because she couldn't remember her new phone number. After a month, I finally got fed up and had the number changed. Melissa, if you were supposed to be a massage therapist for the PGA Tour in 2013, I hope you eventually got your shit together. Crime, specifically felonies. My lawyer took out a loan forging my signature. He's doing 15 years in federal prison. I would have given him the $5,000. His kid was very sick, and I would have gladly helped him out. Colleague starts out great at new job, gets through probation, then gets out of control drunk at a company party. She makes out with the boss's date, then hooks up with another colleague while her husband is there. Fast forward, she's dating this colleague now, and their relationship is causing disciplinary measures at work. They decide to double down and sign a new lease together. Anyways, she then lies about getting poached by a customer to leverage a raise, and when it doesn't work, she actually has to quit. Her boyfriend then follows suit by not showing up and ghosting the company. Now he's a stay-at-home dad. Oh, did I mention she has 3 kids? After being with this girl for 6 months, and they both don't have a job. Kind of a 2-for-1. The amount of time it took for him to finish his first bump of coke, he was hooked instantly, and been chasing it ever since. He's been hospitalized at least once, and as many as 4 times due to complications that are hitting him harder and harder. A guy I worked with at Papa John's when I was in college bought a gun from a coworker. Our other coworker got robbed delivering a pizza. He told me he wants to see if it works. He went and shot it into an empty developing neighborhood into some trees. The bullets hit a house behind the trees with a family and kids. Nobody was hurt, but they were scared to death. Police immediately came and arrested him before he could even pull off. They were camping out in that neighborhood already since people were coming at night to smoke weed have sex, and shoot guns, shaking my head. He shot 3 shots, got 25 years in prison for attempted murder and reckless endangerment. First time ever shooting a gun. We were only 19. This was 2006. I think about him a lot. We weren't close like that, but he's still in prison over a 5-second mistake 17 years later. Really nerdy kid too. First time ever in trouble. I follow his sister on Facebook. He's unrecognizable now. Imagine McLovin from Superbad, who looks like Jason Momoa now with tats on his face. Sad. Also, my roommate a few weeks later was struggling financially and decided to buy 2 pounds of weed to sell with a student loan refund check. Got pulled over and arrested the same day. Got 5 years. Can't make this shit up. It took 4 hours. He woke up, murdered his grandparents in their sleep, stole all of the firearms in the house and his grandfather's truck, and fled. I grew up with this dude. He was a genuinely good person. We were friends all of elementary school and most of middle school. He was an amazing friend and always knew how to help someone, but he had a lot of mental health issues, and his religious family believed it was just a possession by demons and whatnot. Recently, his actual hearing was done, and you could tell how far off the deep end he had gotten. Smiling the whole time they described what he did, laughed when they sentenced him, and he had to be dragged out laughing like a lunatic, saying, "It's over, Grandpa, it's over." It was during the court trials that we found out his grandparents were apparently SAing him, something the rest of the family seemingly knew quite well but ignored, and they'd refused to let him leave the house despite him being in his 20s and a legal adult. They isolated him from the world, told him he was possessed by demons, and let his grandparents molest him repeatedly without intervention. I'm honestly not even surprised he did it. I'm just sad it went down the way it did. 2 guys got into an argument at an old job I had. One of them was clearly the provocateur and a bit of a dickhead, but the other snapped, and they started pushing and shoving, and that second guy punched him. He got fired as a result. He was otherwise a pretty mild guy. I wouldn't say it wrecked his life, but he had a good job, and it's an industry where it's definitely affected his reputation. Felt kind of bad for him. The provocateur guy got written up. He didn't lose his job, but he did get bad performance reviews, etc., and eventually left, but his reputation didn't suffer as much as the first guy. Moral of the story, if you want to punch a colleague, do it after work and not in the office. Had a friend that had the perfect girlfriend, a good career path, and just so many things going his way. Then the dude picked drugs over his girlfriend, and basically he gave up on everything for drugs. I haven't heard from the guy in about 7 years, so to be honest, I don't even know if he's still alive. After 45 years of hearing about how some very addictive substances can really ruin someone's life quickly, I've been fortunate enough to avoid those. And, I have a lot of empathy and sympathy for people who fall into that, and I'm especially proud of people who come out of it because it's clearly extremely difficult. A coach at the school I worked at led the boys' basketball team to state and was awarded Coach of the Year. Comments on the post about his award started filling up with SA accusations from former students. Obviously, an investigation was immediately launched, and he shot himself in the head by the end of the week. Literally went from being awarded and praised to dead by suicide within days. Left behind a wife and 2 young kids. A high school teacher from my hometown who was married with children had an affair with her 17-year-old student. Apparently, it was going on for over a year before anyone found out. When the whole thing came out, her life was basically over. She lost everything. Girl's divorce sent her into a manic episode. Her friends understood, but she lost her medical license. That she had less than a year because she posted patient information on social media. She lost her job, made her lose her income, so she lost her home. She decided to stay in nice hotels and was in debt by the end of 2 weeks. My husband had a nice job as a high-level retail manager. Before his store closed, he became a lead for less money in an inventory company. He was generally considered to be a nice but quiet. You'd see more of his personality when he was working on computers, self-taught, or video games or pool. General consensus was that he was a good guy, always ready to game with the kids. Less than a month after our 6th anniversary, I found a video on our tablet from a hidden camera in our bathroom that showed my 14-year-old niece nude. It looked like he kept the image on the cloud and would add it to whatever device he was using and then delete it. He just missed that last step. I called the police immediately, and he never came home again. They found more images on his computer and a 20-minute video, full front view of his face, as he tries to hide the camera. He pled guilty and received 40 years with 36 suspended. He'll have to register as an sex offender and has some pretty stiff rules to follow. No alcohol, no items that can connect to the internet unless he pays for a company to put monitoring software on every internet-accessible device. The day I found it, I sent him to work with a kiss. I found the images around 11:30 a.m. and had surrendered the tablet and gotten the case started with police by 11:45. I have told every relationship I've been in, husband included, that the one thing that will make me turn you in and walk away and never look back, he truly thought I would never leave him and was all surprised Pikachu face when I kept my promise. His actions caused him to lose everything he took for granted that he would always. Our daughter was 5 then, and for her, he just disappeared one day. Now I'm watching her grow and mature into a beautiful person, and he doesn't get the privilege of even knowing this beautiful child. I'm sure that separation has hurt him a lot, but you don't get trusted with any child, even your own, after you do something like that. Good riddance.